thank you so much for coming. This is the NVIDIA 4K stage. We've got like a bunch of really, really great talks all over the day. So, of course, first of all, we're going to be kicking off with Tripwire. We've got some lovely guests here. Lovely guests. One all the way from the US, one from Cornwall.
Yeah,
So
not originally. Don't accuse me of that. But
What's wrong with being from Cornwall?
well, I'm Welsh, so to me, there's a lot.
Okay, that's possibly. Oh, there we go.
There you go,
Lovely. Yeah. Everyone's making friends.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a little bit of background about Tripwire, if you don't already know. Obviously, they're a Georgia-based independent developer publisher, sort of started around 2005, with the award-winning team of the 2004 edition of $1 Million to Make Something Unreal competition, which I love the name of. So obviously best known for Killing Floor and, of course, Red Orchestra franchises. So last year they released Killing Floor 2 on Steam Early Access, and was met with great response, and actually was in the top 20 games of 2015 on Steam, and it was still in Early Access, which is pretty spectacular. They've got huge amounts of content updates, and you'll find out obviously from this talk just how much stuff they are releasing, which is a lot. So we want to obviously welcome to the stage, to start with, the president and co-founder, John Gibson. Big round of applause, please.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
The president is in the house. I feel like we should salute. No?
No need to salute.
I would if I was a president, I'd make people salute me all the time.
John doesn't go for that kind of thing, which I think is a bit of a shame, actually. Like, I totally.
How often can you be a president?
I know.
Yeah, it's funny whenever I have to fill out any kind of loan application or whatever, they're like, "What is your occupation?" And I write president. I'm like, not of the United States, just of a little game studio in Georgia.
But that must be fun, because every time you sign up for like a conference, you can just be like, John Gibson, president. Come on, it's a little bit cool.
It's a little cool.
Yeah, good. Okay. And of course, we've got Antimatter Games, who are going to be here all weekend as well. They're based in Cornwall, and they originally started as a mod team. That's right, who collaborated with Tripwire on Rising Storm. And it kind of developed from there. Friendship turned into love, turned into work buddies.
Yes, we are now almost know each other too well. I would, especially after last night.
Wow. Okay, this is taking a strange turn.
Not like that. Yeah, no, we've been modding Tripwire games in various forms for some of us for almost as long as Tripwire have been a thing. And after Rising Storm 1 came out and we worked very closely with Tripwire on that, we formed a kind of physical studio. So we're no longer scattered all over the world. Most of us are now congregated down in sleepy Cornwall near the sea.
You had to settle down your nomadic life.
Yeah, we'd
game
gone on
development.
too long. Now we're busy making Rising Storm 2, which we can talk about in a bit.
So I should say, this is Jack.
Hello.
Jack Hackett from Antimatter. Round of applause, yes.
I don't get the presidential round of applause, but that's fine, I understand.
No, just a quiet one. So, John, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit about the history of Tripwire, because it's almost 11 years now,
11
right?
years, just last week. Yeah,
what did you do for your anniversary? Did you do something spectacular?
I posted on Facebook a picture that said, "Happy 11 years."
No cake.
10 was the big one. 10, we did the cake. We had a cake with a flesh pound on it, and I'll take the arm, I'll take the head. But it's been great. We started out. We did this as a mod team for free in the beginning, because we were just passionate about games. It was just what we enjoyed doing. And then we found a way to make a living doing it. I mean, how exciting is that? In 2002, 2003, we were in the Make Something Unreal contest. Funny thing, the $1 million Make Something Unreal contest, we did not get $1 million,
Chip.
I get email. I got hate mail. It's like, you won $1 million, and now you're going to charge for video games. You're probably driving around in a Lamborghini, and
really expensive.
blowing your nose with $100 bills. But no, we didn't actually get $1 million. That was the prize money for the whole competition. I mean, there were 1,000 teams that entered the competition. We got $50,000, which, for a game studio in the beginning, it lasted us about 3 months, and then it was gone. But it did give us a start, which was great. It got us off the ground. It got our foot in the door. So we took Red Orchestra. We made that a commercial game out of that. Then we did Killing Floor, Red Orchestra 2, co-developed Rising Storm with what was the mod team that became Antimatter Games. And then last year, Killing Floor 2 Early Access. So millions of games later, we're still just a bunch of game fans that have the best job in the world.
Aww. So we should say, obviously, Killing Floor 2 is playable here all weekend. Has anyone actually played it yet? Oh, what did you... Let's have some live feedback. What did you think? Yeah?
Unless you didn't like it, then we don't.
Yeah, then don't say
This
anything.
is super awkward if you don't like it, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? How about, what do you guys think? It's great.
Cool.
This is good. I like the live feedback.
Yeah.
Thing. It's slightly more frightening than just a Twitter comment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rubbish. So you guys, released like a bunch of like content updates. Have to say, hilariously titled. Yeah, I mean, you must know the title names, obviously. Incinerate and Detonate, and Return of the Patriarchy, which, if I was to have a band, I feel like that would be my band name, because that's really cool.
Return of the Patriarch.
Yeah, yeah. So you've got like loads and loads of different bits of content coming out. But I suppose one of the most interesting things to ask you about is a little bit about the Steam, early access.
Early access. Yeah.
What's that like to do? Because it's a different way to how things were done before. But I feel like it's now how everyone's it's almost becoming part of the process of gaming now, right?
Yeah, it's challenging and exciting at the same time. In the past, we would work on a game for 2 or 3 or 4 years, and then we'd put it out. Maybe we'd have a short beta at the end, but we'd put it out, and then we'd spend the next 6 to 12 months modifying the game based on player feedback and dialing it into what they really wanted. And then we said, this time, why don't we do that before we finish the game? So that's kind of how we've used early access. But I think we wanted to take a different approach to early access. I think a lot of people are putting things up on early access where they haven't really found the fun yet. It's like, here is terrain, and here's a club, and there's rats running around, and eventually this will become a open world survival game, but right now there's nothing fun to do. And so give us your ideas and help us make a game. And, not that that's the wrong way to do it, but so many people were already doing that. We wanted to take a different approach. We said, let's make something really polished and really fun, and something more like a late beta than like a pre-alpha. And but let's make like a subset of content, because we don't want to make the whole game and then find out later everybody's like, hey, change everything. So just make a little bit, but make it really, really fun, and then put it out there, and then keep adding big chunks of content to the game. And we think that's a good way to do it. And we've really enjoyed getting the feedback from the gamers of what they'd like to see us add, what they'd see us like to change. One big challenge has been that there is a high expectation on how quickly you're gonna give new content. It's like, oh wow, so you delivered this much content. They're gonna give us that much next week, right? It's like, well, actually, it took us 2 years to develop what we just gave you, so we can't give it to you that fast, but we'll give it to you every few months. But we really found. It was a learning experience, and we'll freely admit, we kind of screwed up in the beginning. We were kind of geared towards this thing of like, we're making updates and we don't want to talk about them, we don't want to communicate, and now here they are, yay! Let's all enjoy them. In early access, you really can't do that. You gotta communicate. You gotta have a two-way communication with the gaming community that's playing your game. So we learned from that. I think we were getting better at communication. We started taking polls online, collecting data from the fans, because it's really hard. When you've got We've got 1 million people that are playing a game, and then you're trying to get all their feedback. It's like standing in a room and having everybody shout at you at once. And like, what are they saying? So getting good at getting that feedback has been part of the challenge. We've also, one of the things, we can't deliver big amounts of content any faster than we have. But what we have started doing is, hey, let's get these bug fixes and balance updates out a lot quicker, because we put something in the game and it's unbalanced, and we're like, okay, we'll fix that in the next 3-month patch. And so we're sticking players with playing with that thing being broken or unbalanced for like 3 months. Like, hey, we don't really need to do that. So we're doing those updates every couple weeks, and we're getting a good cadence going there. And I think that's the fans have really reacted to that positively. Like, okay, cool, they're listening, and they're giving us, they're listening to us, and they're fixing things. So they really like to see that.
Well, I suppose it's always been kind of the way where, I mean, across the board in like different entertainment mediums, like film and music and stuff, you'd have kind of like the gatekeepers, and they would decide how things were, and they would almost dictate what you were going to play as gamers. And so it must be quite exciting to be part, it's like quite a democratic movement, really. It's power to the people. I mean, it's
yeah,
good, but you can still be creative, right? But just it sort of fine-tunes it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's no longer fire and forget. I mean, the days of when people they made a game, they put it in a disc, they put it on the shelf, and then they're on to the next game. Games these days, they're and for us, it kind of goes back to our roots as a mod team, because we would make things as a mod team, and we put it out, and then we'd get feedback, and we had this loop going, and it's great to do that again, because games are a living product now. They're not just this thing that you put on a disc and put on a shelf, and you forget about it and you move on. And for us as developers, I think it allows us to just expand our games so much more in ways that we wouldn't have in the past. It allows us to take them to places where we wouldn't have in the past. Like with Killing Floor 1, we were putting out updates 5 years later. I mean, I think the last thing we did was the end of the line update where the Patriarch gets in the tunnel and goes under, it comes over to France. And that was like 5 years after the game shipped. 15 years ago, no developer would ever do that. Put something out 5 years later. Here's some more free stuff 5 years later. They just wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you guys produce like so much like additional content. So why don't we kind of like talk through some of the stuff that's going to be coming out?
Absolutely.
We expect.
So yeah, so don't tell anybody. This is all top secret. No, actually, tell everybody. We really want you to. So one of the most anticipated perks that we've been working on, and if you're not familiar with Killing Floor, perks are kind of like what they call classes in other games, but we've been calling them perks forever, so we're going to keep calling them that. One of the specialties in Killing Floor 2 is the sharpshooter, and everybody's been waiting for the sharpshooter. They want to kill those Zeds really, really far away. Don't let them get anywhere near me. Just shoot them in the head while they're really far away. So the sharpshooter's coming back. He's got some really cool abilities that we're going to be revealing in the coming weeks. And for his weapon set, we've got 4 weapons coming for him. 3 are returning favorites from the first game. You've got your lever-action rifle. It's your John Wayne Wild West. Your cowboys and Indians things going on. You got your classic crossbow. Any fan of The Walking Dead knows that killing monsters with crossbows is awesome. Yeah, we've got a semi-automatic sniper rifle, the M14. That's also a returning favorite. But what's really cool is the most powerful sharpshooter weapon, and we haven't talked about this before this weekend, and that is the Horizine railgun. So it's this big, massive, like think of your classic BFGs you're carrying around, this 10-story building, that you shoot monsters with, that just knocks them down. Very, very powerful, very high tech, very cool. So that's one of the exciting things that's coming. We've got a new map that we just started talking about called Prison. It's set in Eastern Europe. Sort of the idea is that the survivors of the Zed outbreak have sort of gone to the prison. Hey, this will be a good place to hold out, but really it was not a good place to hold out. Locking yourself into a building, not a good idea when monsters.
No escape routes.
Because when giant monsters like with giant pounders for fists can just break doors down, so locking yourself in a building, not a great idea. But it does make good gameplay. So we're going to put you in that prison and let you duke it out with the Zeds. Another cool thing we've done, we've been fostering modding and the community to create stuff for the game. So last year we had the Killing Floor Grindhouse 2 competition, map-making competition for the game. And the first phase ended in December. And we're happy to announce that we're bringing 2 of the winners to be an official part of the game, official community maps. One map's called Hostile Grounds. It's a city map, but with a really cool underground sewer system that you're fighting in. Beautiful map. It really blew me away when I played it. I was like, this is a community-made map. We could ship this tomorrow. I mean, this was amazing. And then there's another one called Containment Station, which is a space station that you're fighting the monsters in, kind of a cool sci-fi aesthetic. So that's coming out. Oh, wow, there's so much stuff. And, if I'm babbling, just stop me. But
no, we want to know all the things. Tell us more.
So much cool stuff. Another thing that we're doing is, in the past we've had Steam Workshop support for our games, but we only had what we call like partial support, which means community members that were making stuff, they could put it on Workshop, people could subscribe to it and they would download it, but if you joined a game server, you wouldn't have the content, and there was this disconnect. Like they couldn't all get the same stuff, so people had to go to file sharing sites and do all this weird stuff. Basically, it meant that there were a lot of roadblocks on the path of you getting this cool community-made stuff. And we're getting ready to ship very, very soon for Killing Floor 2 what we call full Steam Workshop support. That means servers can subscribe to content, clients can subscribe to content. If you let's say I'm a community mapper. I'm making my cool magnum opus map. I put it out, like, oh crap, there's a bug in it. Okay, so I update the map. They update the map. Server will automatically download the map and update. Any client that has subscribed will automatically get it. But let's say you're just, hey, I don't even know about this map. I didn't subscribe to anything. You connect to the server, you automatically download the map from Steam Workshop. So basically, you don't have to do anything. You just get to have fun with all this cool content. But the person that it really helps is the person that's making that stuff. They can get it into the hands of the gamers so much easier. So we're so excited about that. We want to take that barrier away. The final new thing that we have coming, last year we introduced the Zedconomy, which was the fans were creating cool weapon skins and things for the characters, and we're like, how can we reward those people for their work? So we created this way that that people can either get those items as free drops in the game, or maybe they'll buy a crate and open a key, and the people the fans that made that stuff, they get some of the money, which is really cool. That's to really support the community, and now there's. After that first wave, there's all this stuff that's even better, like amazing weapon skins, amazing character. Like some of it's funny, but getting a little crazy. And I think I saw the other day a guy was working on putting it in the game. It's like a giant alligator head hat or something like that. I mean, just some examples of the crazy fun stuff that people have coming, and that's coming soon. So not all of the stuff will necessarily be in the next update, but this is all the things we're working on, and we're gonna kind of grab the stuff that's ready and put it out there soon for you guys to play.
So as you can see, there's a lot.
There's a lot.
That was like 7 minutes of just content.
Well done, John.
Yeah, you could take a break now, John, because we're going to switch gears a little bit and go over to Jack and talk a little bit about your baby.
Yeah.
Tell us everything.
Rising Storm 2 Vietnam is the latest game in the Red Orchestra series, which was originally started by Tripwire, like you say, over 10 years ago.
Yep.
Which has kind of always been, to kind of give a bit of background on the Red Orchestra series, I guess, it's always been known for kind of being like a large-scale, very authentic, very gritty, very kind of skill-based shooter, which previously has exclusively been in kind of the World War II setting. Red Orchestra itself has always been kind of German versus Russian Eastern Front stuff. And then when we worked with Tripwire as a mod team on Rising Storm 1, which was kind of an expansion for the second Red Orchestra game, we kind of took that to the Pacific, Japanese versus Americans. And so what we've always kind of heard from the community through the kind of all the Red Orchestra games and Rising Storm is, when are we going to see this kind of gameplay get taken to a whole new era, especially a kind of more modern era where we can play with some kind of new guns and we don't have kind of bolt actions everywhere, kind of different kind of take on that same kind of authentic gameplay that the series is well known for. So we decided to kind of push the game forward into a new era with Rising Storm 2 Vietnam, which kind of takes the game in that whole new period. And
I mean, aside from obviously the kind of change in era and weaponry, what drew you to picking Vietnam specifically?
Oh, we had a good think about where we wanted to set the game, and Vietnam kind of stuck out to us for a few really clear reasons. I mean, first of all, Vietnam's really underexplored for a game setting. Last decade...
It feels like it's not, but actually you're right. I think it's because there's so many films about Vietnam.
Lots and lots
our brain is polluted by that information.
It's a kind of thing that a lot of people have a sort of vague sense of. And of course, there have been games that have touched on it. There have been some, but maybe in the last decade, it's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit. But so we thought it was the kind of right time to bring a game back, and we thought we could really do it justice, especially because, of course, everyone has a kind of film understanding of Vietnam. But one of the things that Red Orchestra as a series and now Rising Storm have always been known for is it's not just about kind of getting that sort of cinematic feel. We really wanted to kind of get an authentic sense of the conflict itself. I know more about Vietnam history than I would care to mention at this point, And
tell us an exciting fact that you've learned.
Oh God!
On the spot.
No, but they don't end up being exciting facts. They end up being really depressing or frightening facts, like did you know that the Viet Cong would smear excrement on punji sticks to poison their enemies? Like really horrible things like that. It's never nice. It's never like,
is that in the
fun.
game?
No, well, I mean, with some.
It's not fun. Don't tell people Vietnam's not fun, Jack.
Press F to smear. No, there's none of that. That's a terrible thing to say. I'm never going to be allowed to do an interview again after this. Thanks a lot, guys. So, no, I mean, we want to get that kind of really authentic feeling. Maybe not to that degree, but we kind of, there's more to it than kind of the cinematic feel, I guess, for us. Vietnam's also a really exciting setting because if you played the first Rising Storm game, one of the kind of key kind of concepts that we really pushed in that game and that made it quite unique and that a lot of people seem to really enjoy from what we saw from like fan feedback was that Japanese and American forces in World War II were very different in terms of their tactics, in terms of their armaments, in terms of how they fought and how they kind of waged war. So we had this kind of thing called asymmetry where we were like, we're not going to try and make sure that everyone's guns are kind of just reskins, you have the Japanese rifle and the American rifle.
That's quite common, obviously.
Most games try and balance everyone out so that you can't even tell.
Yeah.
Or
you have Japanese running around with Tommy guns.
And we really wanted to stay away from that. We wanted to kind of authentically reflect the way that they fought, the weapons they used, and their strategies. So you had different armaments based on what side you were on, and playing against Japanese versus Americans is very different. Japanese are all, banzai charging across the battlefield, whilst the Americans have got like flamethrower troopers that the Japanese never get anywhere near. So Vietnam is like the perfect conflict to take that concept and push it even further, because the really fascinating thing about Vietnam, just as a piece of sort of military history, is that on paper it looks like the most one-sided conflict of all time. The Americans in 1965, 1970 were, the most powerful military in the world. They had an enormous supply of all the best war machines on Earth, air support, F-4 Phantoms, Huey gunships and Cobras and all these like helicopters and all sorts of things. The latest weaponry. Whereas the Viet Cong and the MVA were kind of ill-equipped, using second-hand World War II guns, Russian hand-me-downs, knockoffs they built in weird factories in North Vietnam where, it's hard to find photo reference for the guns nowadays. So you'd think on paper that it was going to be a stomp. That
that's why America went in there. They were like, there's no way we could lose this. I mean, guys, we're America.
Yeah, it's, that's the kind of expectation. Yeah. But in reality, of course, America found it incredibly difficult going into Vietnam as a military and found a lot of problems. And in fact, we found when making the game and adding new unique features for each side, every time we added something for the Americans, and you'll see some of this in a minute, no spoilers, every time we added something kind of big and impressive and flashy for the Americans, air support or some cool new gun they had at the time, we'd think, oh, this is going to be too much. It's going to be too powerful because, the Vietnamese don't have those kinds of like, oh, call in a jet. It's things like, it's much more subtle. It's about kind of booby traps and little tricksy things and sneaky kind of subterfuge guerrilla tactics. But in reality, the flashy stuff doesn't necessarily work out as well as the really subtle, powerful abilities that the Viet Cong have on a kind of strategic and tactical level. So it was funny, designing the game, we kind of ended up reflecting the reality of the conflict. We kind of had that overconfidence that I guess the Americans had in 1965. And kind of, as we went through the game, we started to almost sort of realize why the Vietnamese managed to fight back against this huge, impressive, terrifying war machine. So I think that's made Vietnam a really exciting setting for us. It lets us do some really unique things, give each side totally different tools to try and win the battle, and it makes for some really exciting gameplay. I think people are going to
You need to get this in some schools, man.
Well,
I mean, like college or whatever.
College.
College.
I think
Let's
college
go college.
Is where you want to go.
So you could kind of, maybe sort of explain that you're playing so much of it because you want to have a better understanding of history.
Sure.
If you need an excuse to game, I'm always looking for an excuse to game.
It's an educational experience.
Educational, yeah.
In several, a harrowing but educational experience. Now, I mean, of course, we want to make sure people enjoy the game at the same time. It's not all about being terrifying and challenging, but I think, Vietnam's given us a really great opportunity to take that Red Orchestra gameplay into a new era, give people a whole new host of kind of tools to play with, and a whole kind of new environment and look and feel. I think people are going to really enjoy it. I think it's going to be great.
What's your favorite thing about the game you made? Is there a favorite thing?
Well, there are many things. On a personal level, I do really enjoy the kind of, I guess when you think you're going like, oh, going from 1945 to 1965, you think like, oh, now everyone's gonna have an M16, that kind of thing, and you think that'll be the fun thing. But actually, the guns I've really enjoyed playing with in the game so far haven't been the sort of, Red Orchestra's always been kind of divided into classes, so a lot of people are going to be carrying M16s, but there are going to be other guns available as well. And things like, if you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, you'll see that we've been releasing little sort of WebMs, like little 10-second clips, like, hey, you can check out a bit of the game, like here's a little thing. And one of the ones we showed really recently was a WebM of the M79, which is like that little, it looks like a pipe with a trigger, if you've seen it. It's like just a grenade launcher, like a single-shot grenade launcher. And that gun is really, really fun to use, just because you're not running around with, like, an assault rifle is very general purpose.
Yeah.
Whereas a grenade launcher, especially in a game like Red Orchestra, it has a minimum range. So under about 15 meters, the grenade won't explode. So it's a very challenging gun to use in that you're running around and you have to be very careful about how you play. You can be very powerful. If you see 3 guys standing 50 meters away and you aim and shoot right, you can feel like, I'm the coolest guy on earth. And then someone will come around the corner and you'll fire a pointless grenade into the wall and get killed instantly. I really enjoy the weapons like that Vietnam's allowed us to put in, where they're not good in all situations. You can feel awesome sometimes, and sometimes you can screw up.
You regret your loadout choice.
Your decisions, yeah. But that's really fun. I like that we don't want to give the player all the tools all the time to be great in all situations. We want to make you think about how to play and feel good when you make good decisions and learn from your bad decisions so that you play better, rather than just making you feel good all the time and kind of rewarding you. We want that like really rewarding, real skill joy.
It's just about using your brain a little bit more, like having to adapt your play style for like what weaponry you're using.
There's been a big trend lately. And when I say lately, I mean like the last 5 years maybe. towards people are moving away, at least entirely, from being in this kind of arcadey run-and-gun shooter experience. And they want something a bit more tactical, where you have to work in a team, where you have to communicate, where you have to think about how you're going to play, where there's skill which lets you get better and feel good about how well you're playing and learn and it's something that you can invest a lot of time in and get more and more out of it the more time you put in. And we've seen that a lot over the last 5 years. People really kind of want that kind of game. There's been some really great success stories. But I guess the thing is that Red Orchestra's been going on doing that for over a decade now. So I think, there's a really great opportunity for us to bring out a new game with Rising Storm 2 Vietnam and say, hey, look, we've been doing this for a long time. We know what we're doing with it. And this experience is going to be even better than the last one. So hopefully people are looking forward to it.
Well, you got me excited about it, so that's at least one person.
Yeah, well, there we go.
I believe you also have a little bit of a have a bit of a trailer or something to show us, right?
Yeah. I can set that up a little bit with you with some specifics.
Okay.
Should I do that? And then so I got some little tidbits I can share. So we've got some gameplay to actually show, which is kind of we showed a trailer before at E3 when we announced the game. This trailer actually shows current gameplay, kind of capped in real time on like real maps. There's nothing canned about it. There's nothing kind of pre-animated. It's all just gameplay footage. So hopefully they'll give you a sense of how the game is actually playing, what it really looks like. We didn't kind of want to fake anything for this and let people really see how the game's going to play when they get their hands on it. A couple of the things you'll see in the trailer that I really want to draw people's attention to, because I think they're some of the exciting stuff that we've got going on. First of all, because of course the automatic weaponry means that there's a lot more lead downrange, shall we say, in terms of how the game's going to play out, especially when you're thinking of like 30 people plus a side. That's a lot of bullets going downrange with things like M16s and AKs. So Red Orchestra's always been known for having fantastic gun handling and really kind of meaty heavy guns. There's no, it's not a game with auto aim or kind of big helpful crosshairs. It's like you got to pick your shots and you got to be able to handle the guns right. We've worked really hard in Rising Storm 2 Vietnam to have even better kind of recoil modeling than before, and you'll see like the way the gun moves in some of these first-person shots. The sight will actually kind of move out of alignment, so it's not glued to the middle of your screen all the time. We really want those guns to feel meaty, feel like strong, like they've got a kick, and you have to accommodate for that as a player, so you're not just spraying full auto downrange all the time. The second thing we've done is one of the other cool things about Vietnam, as well as those kind of big army versus army battles that Red Orchestra is really well known for, Vietnam had a lot of kind of smaller conflicts, squad versus squad, rather than army versus army is what I've always said. And so as well as that kind of classic Red Orchestra gameplay, we've worked to include some game modes for smaller player numbers so that you can have that kind of tactical team play in a squad and communicate and work really closely with 8 other guys, not with 32 other guys. So those are kind of complementary things that we both want to kind of include so that we're reflecting all the sides of the Vietnam conflict. Some of the maps you'll see here will be those kind of like smaller, closer engagement things, and some will be the kind of broader, massive, huge, mile-wide maps that Red Orchestra is known for. So hopefully that'll give you an idea of what the game's going to be like. I hope people enjoy the trailer, and you can look forward to it sometime later this year.
That looks great. Round of applause for the guys. Thank you so much to Jack and John for coming to talk to us.
For having us.
It's very good. This is all terribly official.
Oh, I say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
It's fantastic.
British,
good luck with it all. And I guess you guys got any questions you'd like to ask?
You can fire a quick one or two off. I'm just going to stand around here for 10 minutes afterwards if you want to have a chat. It's fine.
I have something to say.
Oh, go on.
Oh.
Go on. I'll sit down and listen attentively.
Yeah. So there is one big reveal. We've talked about it a little bit this weekend, but if you haven't heard, we've got one more thing very, very cool coming for Killing Floor 2. So one of the big things that people have been asking for years is I want to play as the Zeds. I want to play as the monsters in Killing Floor 2. So I'm happy to announce that we have an all-new game mode called Versus Survival, where you get to do just that. Now, for those of you that follow us, you know that we did a game jam in December. And what that means is usually people go off for vacation in December, and we have a few people left in the office, and they're kind of like, working on some things, but it's not a super productive month at Tripwire. So we told people, hey, this month, just work on whatever you want. And out of that came a lot of cool things, some of which you'll see in the game later, but one of those was Versus Survival. And what it is it's kind of like the normal survival mode in Killing Floor, only one side plays as the humans and one side plays as the monsters. And it was once we kind of got it working, we were like, wow, this is really, really fun. I mean, coming in, the first time that you play as a flesh pound and you come in as this giant monster and you're just hitting guys, and it's like the Ring of Sauron. People are just flying everywhere, the Ring of Power. And that's really, really cool. But one of the things that was actually pretty challenging to do with that was to make the lower level Zeds feel good. You're this, these monsters that they're designed to kind of be cannon fodder. And, it's not, one of the things we discovered, believe it or not, it's not super fun to play as cannon fodder. So, in real life or video games. So what we did is we gave each of the low-level Zeds a special ability. The slasher clot, he has this ability to bound like 20 feet in the air. He's very, very hard to hit, and he gets right up to you and starts slashing on your face. The crawler, which is the spider-like character, he can jump 20 feet forward, just get through the level very, very fast. But even when he's not very powerful, but when he gets killed, he lets off a cloud of toxic smoke that sort of spreads the human team out. We have the Alpha Clot, which is really cool. He can run around. He's kind of like the football coach. He's running around, and he does these screams that rallies the other Zeds, and they start freaking out and running and attacking the human players as fast as possible. So they all have these unique abilities that make them fun and interesting to play. But that's coming out very soon, and we're super excited to get in your hands. It's so much fun.
That's a pretty awesome reveal right there. Again, thank you so much to Jack and John. Big round of applause. Thank you to Tripwire and Antimatter for joining us here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Cool.
You're free to go.
Oh, thank God.